New York City has many faces, the glittering skyline, the rushing crowds, the endless noise. But behind every building, every street, every old brick still breathing in silence, there is a story. A story of people. A story of dreams. A story of love, and sometimes, a story of loss. This is one such story, woven into the history of New York architecture. A story about the city. And two people who found, and almost lost, themselves within it. Eleanor Price had lived in New York City for 48 years. She had watched its skyline rise like a heartbeat, steel by steel, window by window. She always said the city wasn't made of buildings, it was made of memories. Every morning, before the sun stretched over the East River, she opened the blinds of her small apartment in the Lower East Side. From her window, she could see the silhouettes of old tenement buildings, their fire escapes tangled like iron vines. And beyond them, the shimmering spires of Manhattan's newer giants. But today, she wasn't looking at the skyline. Today, she was waiting. A knock came at the door. She hesitated before opening it, wiping her palms on her sweater. On the other side stood a young man, tall, slightly awkward, with the anxious eyes of someone carrying too many questions and not enough answers. "Mrs. Price?" he asked softly. "Yes?" "I'm Daniel. Daniel Rivera. My professor said you might be willing to help me." Eleanor nodded slowly. "Architecture history, right? And, something about lost places," he added. "Places people forgot." She smiled. "New York is full of those." She stepped aside, letting him in. Eleanor led Daniel to the window. "You see those tenements?" she said. "Late 1800s. Immigrants from Italy, Ireland, Germany, and later from Eastern Europe lived there. Packed rooms, shared bathrooms, no ventilation. But to them, it was hope. Their first step into a new life." Daniel nodded, scribbling notes. Eleanor continued. "New York wasn't built by wealthy architects. It was built by tired hands. Bricklayers, carpenters, laborers, people who came with nothing but a dream." Daniel looked up. "Did your family come like that?" Her smile wavered, but she nodded. "Yes. My father grew up in a building just like these. He used to tell me that the architecture wasn't beautiful, but the people were." Her voice softened. "He met my mother on those very fire escapes." She paused, letting the memory breathe. "That's the thing about this city, Daniel. Its history is made of small love stories hidden inside big buildings." They walked outside, heading toward Midtown. Traffic hummed like a constant heartbeat. The buildings grew taller, stronger, prouder. Daniel looked up in awe. "Every time I look at the Chrysler Building, I feel like it's alive." "It is," Eleanor whispered. "It was built during the race for the tallest building in the world. 1930, Art Deco at its finest. And do you know what its architect said?" "What?" She smiled. "That he wanted it to look like it was reaching for something it could never quite touch." Daniel laughed. "That's kind of poetic. It's kind of New York." They turned a corner, and the Empire State Building rose before them. "Built in just 410 days, Eleanor said. The workers risked their lives every moment. Some didn't make it home." She placed her hand gently over her heart. Whenever someone says New York is cold, I tell them, this city has more ghosts of dreamers than any place in the world. Daniel looked at her for a moment, sensing the heaviness in her tone. They descended into the subway, a roaring cavern lit by flickering bulbs and the metallic screech of trains. 1904, Eleanor said. That's when the first line opened. Daniel listened as she continued. For millions of people, the subway wasn't just transportation. It was where life happened. People met here, fell in love here, said goodbye here. She touched the tiled wall, tracing its cracks. This is where I met Henry. Daniel blinked. Henry? My husband. She smiled, the kind of smile that carried both sunlight and storms. We were both architecture students. We argued about everything, which style was better, which era mattered more. But we agreed on one thing. New York was alive. Her eyes glistened. We dated on construction sites, studied in libraries, sketched buildings on napkins in coffee shops. He said he wanted to design something that people would remember long after he was gone. Daniel whispered. Did he? A moment of silence filled the subway air before she answered. He never got the chance. The train arrived with a thunderous roar. They stepped in. He passed away before he finished his first real project. A heart condition we never knew he had. Her voice trembled. For years. I couldn't walk through this city without feeling like every street held a piece of him. They emerged into the green calm of Central Park. People forget, Eleanor said, this place was designed in 1857. Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert Vaux created it so New Yorkers would have a place to breathe. They sat on a bench beneath an old elm tree. A city isn't just steel and glass, Eleanor murmured. It also needs softness. A heart. Daniel looked around. It feels like a place where stories end. Or begin, she corrected. Henry proposed to me right here. Daniel smiled, touched. That's beautiful. It was, she whispered. And so is this city, because it carries our stories even when we can't. As the sun dipped behind the skyline, painting the sky with gold, they walked toward the Brooklyn Bridge. 1883, Eleanor said, running her hand along the stone. It was the longest suspension bridge in the world when it opened. Thousands crossed it on the first day. People said it felt like walking into the future. Do you still feel that? Daniel asked. Every day, she replied. They stood silently, watching boats drift across the East River. So, Daniel finally asked, what should I write for my project? Eleanor looked at him with soft, steady eyes. Write that architecture is not just history. It's people. Write that every building holds a story of those who built it, those who lived in it, those who loved in it. And write this, Daniel. Her voice thickened with emotion. No matter how big a city becomes, no matter how many buildings rise or fall, it never stops remembering the people who gave it meaning. Daniel swallowed hard. That's more than I expected. She smiled gently. New York does that to you. He hesitated before asking. Do you ever feel like leaving? She looked back at the skyline, the glowing windows, the trembling lights, the quiet whisper of a city that never sleeps. Henry once told me, she said slowly. This city may break your heart. But it will also teach you how to build it again. A tear slipped down her cheek. "So no," she said. "I'm not leaving." Daniel stared at her, a woman shaped by a city shaped by thousands before her. And in that moment, he finally understood. Buildings don't just tell history. They tell humanity. New York is not just architecture. It is not just stone, steel, and ambition. It is a living diary of millions of souls. Their love, their dreams, their heartbreaks. And somewhere between the shadows of tenements and the heights of skyscrapers, between the past and the present, between loss and healing, we discover the same truth again and again. Cities may change. People may leave. But stories never disappear. They simply rise. Just like New York.